Hello, Gene Schwimmer here. Welcome to today's vlog. I'm recording this on Friday. You're seeing it on Monday. So we are very close, or will be very close by the time you're watching this, to Inauguration Day, January 20th. Joe Biden will certainly be sworn in as president. It's all over. So I am an optimistic person. I just take the world as it is. And well, I'm also a conservative person, so I should mention that as I do periodically. Full disclosure, I'm a conservative. Always keep that in mind when you evaluate whatever I say, especially if I say something is good news or bad news. Take it from that perspective, conservative perspective. So, as I was saying, I'm an optimist. I look forward. I don't look back. The election is over. Biden will be president. The Democrats will control the White House, the Senate, and the House. But there is some good news. I'm going to give you some good news and some potential long-term bad news. And I'm going to have some mixed news. I think on the next vlog I will. But for today, let me just give you a couple of good things. Well, this one is personal to me, I guess. Or if you're a supporter of Israel, any of you out there who support Israel, this is good news. It's interesting. But here's a headline: Rashida Tlaib's new office neighbor to fly Israeli flag. Representative Rashida Tlaib's new neighbor in her congressional office building intends to fly an Israeli flag as a statement against Tlaib's anti-Israel stance. Freshman Representative Kat Kamek, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, Freshman Representative Kat Kamek, who has been given the office next to Tlaib's for the 117th Congress, says she hopes Israel's flag will send a message to Tlaib, a frequent critic of Israel who has a history of anti-Semitic comments. Quote, Tlaib has some very strong opinions about Israel, and I have some very strong opinions about Israel, so I have made a pledge that I'm going to be planting the flag of Israel outside my door right next to the American flag. I think it'll be very helpful as she walks past it every day, unquote. Tlaib did not respond to a request for comment before press time. So I don't know, maybe Tlaib's going to fly a Palestinian flag right next to. So we'll see what happens. The war of the flags, I guess. But one little aside here, because this is a little thing that irks me, because I'm constantly hearing Tlaib's name pronounced, her last name pronounced Tlaib. Tlaib, you can see it right there. It's Tlaib. It's Arab. It's an Arabic name, and that's how Arabic names go. So please, everybody, it's Tlaib, not Tlaib. And with that, I'll go on to the next story. That is, as I said, some personal good news. But now this is some good news for everybody, again, from a conservative standpoint. One of Biden's priorities is to get out $2,000 stimulus checks to everybody, everybody, regardless of whether they really need them or not. For instance, I never got a stimulus check. Maybe I could get one if I checked up and pushed for it, but I never did. I never followed up on getting a stimulus check. I'm not doing it this time either. If there are, well, I guess there's a $600 check going out for sure, because I don't need it. I have enough of an income that I do not need this stimulus check, so I'm not taking it. And that's the way it should be. People who don't need it should not take it. So the problem with Biden's proposal, they want to send money to everybody, basically, but also, more important, they want to bail out these failing Democratic-run cities and states such as Illinois, which is in the toilet because of their mismanagement and their municipal, their government union pension plans. They are in real trouble, especially with the money, the tax money they are losing because of coronavirus. I don't feel sorry for them at all, and they are screaming for a government bailout, for more responsible people, or for people living in more responsible states and cities, such as, well, everybody outside these Democrat-run cities, just about. They want to be subsidized by them, so I don't want that to happen. And I am happy to report, here's a headline, Manchin on proposed round of $2,000 checks. Quote, absolutely not, unquote. Senator Joe Manchin, who's a Democrat from West Virginia, on Friday voiced firm opposition to providing $2,000 stimulus checks, putting the moderate lawmaker at odds with President-elect Joe Biden, congressional Democrats, and even some Republicans, which is sad. A little aside there. Quote, absolutely not, no, unquote, Manchin told the Washington Post in an interview published Friday. Quote, getting people vaccinated, that's job number one. How is the money that we invest now going to help us best to get jobs back and get people employed? And I can't tell you that sending another check out is going to do that to a person that's already got a check, unquote, he said. It's not clear Manchin's opposition would be fatal to the bill, however, unfortunately. Some GOP senators have publicly backed the larger checks. Well, the only reason to back those checks was before the Georgia runoffs to help the two Republican candidates, Loeffler and Perdue. The idea was that, well, it turned out to be true that in many cases, many of these voters, even Republican voters, they wanted these $2,000 checks, and they were concerned they would not get them if the Democrats did not take control of both houses of Congress. And now, ironically, it looks like they may not get them anyway because of somebody like Manchin. It depends what some Republican senators do. But that is actually a piece of good news that I wanted to pass along, because all this business about, well, the Democrats control the Senate and the House now, they have a very, very small majority in the House right now. They just have an 11-seat majority. There are two contests that are still undecided. If those go to the Republicans, then the Democrats in the House would only have a 9-vote majority, meaning that the Republicans would just have to get 5 Democrats to vote with them, and they would essentially control the House, even though the Democrats technically would control the House. That is a piece of good news, again, if you're a conservative like me, and it also increases their, well, even with the redistricting, I have read that just with the redistricting, which that was another good piece of news from the presidential elections, that the Republicans will control all 3 houses, will control the legislature and the governorship of most of the states, enough states that, and plus the movement of people like myself fleeing these badly run Democrat cities and states, moving to other states, that there is going to be a shift in population with the latest census. So the red states are going to gain some seats. That's number one. Number two, the redistricting will, in most cases, be controlled completely by Republicans. I remember reading, I don't remember where, and I could be wrong, but I seem to remember reading that just by virtue of the redistricting, the Republicans are going to gain 4 seats. That's what I heard, 4 seats. And as I just said, to control the House, depending on how it goes with these 2 still outstanding elections, but potentially they would only need one more seat in the entire country to take control of the House. And then in the Senate, they would only need one more seat, and then the Republicans will control the Senate again. And you have to remember, in these runoff elections, one of them was for a full term. That was the one that John Ossoff won. So he's in there for 6 years for sure. But Warnock, the other one, he was filling the remainder of the term of Johnny Isakson. He was a GOP senator who had to retire because of health reasons. So Loeffler was appointed to fill his position until the next election, which is the one that we just had, the runoff. And now Warnock is in there, but only for 2 more years. So he will be up in 2022 also for re-election. So there's a chance that the Republicans could get that seat back if they are smart and do what Stacey Abrams did and just go out there and register voters. That was a big help for them, as she went went out, she spent 2 years registering new voters, new Democratic voters. Republicans need to do the same. They concentrate so much on campaigning and ads and winning campaigns and knocking on doors, but they don't spend enough time, in my opinion, and effort and money in getting brand new voters and getting people to register. I remember in New York walking down the street and having people come up to me with clipboards and saying, "Are you a registered Democrat? Would you like to register?" And of course I say no, but the point is that they are out there. They are out there between elections signing up voters, and the Republicans need to do that very same thing. But getting back to the Senate, right now they control the Senate, the Democrats will, because of Kamala Harris's ability as vice president to break any ties. But there is only going to be a tie. And by the way, I have to wonder if the Senate is evenly split 50-50, then shouldn't the committee members be split 50-50? If that's true, then the Republicans could hold up a lot of stuff just in committee because you would have tie votes. If that doesn't happen, if I'm Mitch McConnell, I would be demanding that. I don't know why he wouldn't. And even if there does turn out to be a Democratic majority on every committee, it shouldn't be more than one. So only one Democrat would have to vote differently in order to keep something stuck in committee. In fact, now that I think of it, if I were Mitch McConnell, I would demand half of the chairmanships to go to Republicans, and I would make them of equal status. In other words, because the Senate is evenly divided, 50-50. So I would say to the new majority leader, Chuck Schumer, okay, we have, let's say, the Judiciary Committee and the Intelligence Committee, two very important committees. You say, okay, well, you pick which one you want the Democrat to chair, and then the Republican gets to chair the other one, and so on all down the line to the committees and subcommittees and so on and so forth. I'm not holding my breath for that to happen, but that would be the fair thing to happen. But the point is, with a 50-50 split, you can only get a situation where Kamala Harris comes in and breaks a tie is if there is a tie. One needs, or the Democrats need, every single Democrat to vote for something to create the tie, and also the Republicans have to all vote together too. If one Republican crosses over to the Democrats, then actually Kamala Harris would not even be needed. But if one Democrat crosses over to the Republicans, then Kamala Harris is a non-factor, and even when they are split, is she going to be running to the Senate on every single vote to break a tie if the Republicans stick together? But I just showed you the headline from Manchin. Manchin is not going to support packing the Supreme Court, making Puerto Rico and Washington, D.C. states, or getting rid of the filibuster, which is the smartest thing to do. I don't know these Democrats. I don't understand them sometimes. Don't they understand that in just about 2 years from now, a little bit more, starting January 3rd was a new Congress. Starting 2 years from now, less than 2 years from now actually, by a few days, the Republicans could be back in control of the Senate, and if there's no filibuster, then the Democrats will be in the position of not being able to stop anything that the Republicans want to do. But also getting back to Manchin, you have to remember, he's a Democrat, and West Virginia, his state, is a red state, but he was elected governor, and he has been elected, I believe, twice senator. The point is, he is a Democratic senator representing a red state, a blue senator representing a red state. So if he cares about his state, which he apparently does, he is not going to be like Dean Jones, who got thrown out of Alabama. He was elected only because GOP, being the stupid party that they often are, that's why they're called the stupid party, they nominated a real jerk Roy Moore, who was so bad that even Republicans voted for a very liberal Democrat, Dean Jones, and so he was a senator for 6 years, but in the last election he was thrown out because he voted with the Washington party and he did not vote according to the wishes of his state, his red state, so he was thrown out. Manchin is not that stupid. I would love for him to, well, if I were, again, Mitch McConnell, it's going to hurt some Republican who is lusting after a chairmanship, but I would give Manchin anything he wants just about to cross over. As another senator, James Jeffords, a Republican senator from Vermont, did a long time ago when the Senate was split 50-50 and there was a Republican president, and he switched over to the Democrats and handed control to the Democrats. So I would love to see it go the other way around. The point is that West Virginia doesn't want to admit, well, the main thing is he doesn't want all those three things that I just mentioned, but they also don't want, I'm sure, the people of West Virginia to bail out Illinois and New York and these California, all these other states that are states and cities that are so badly run. So I am hopeful in some ways. I am hopeful for the best that can be expected, probably for the next 2 years at least, and that's gridlock. Gridlock. I understand, well, Biden will still be able to appoint judges because there is no filibuster anymore regarding judges, and let's pray, that's the bad possible negative, let's pray that no conservative justice on the Supreme Court dies or retires while Biden is in office. And, well, even if the Senate is controlled by Republicans, I still don't want Biden appointing somebody because it will not be a conservative, that's for sure. And it would not be a screaming liberal if the GOP controls the Senate. It would be somebody like Merrick Garland, who would not be a screaming liberal, but there would no longer, it would just, I want to see 9 conservative justices, and that gets set back by nominating another. It won't be so bad if, well, actually, it could even be good if the Republicans control the Senate and one of the very liberal justices retires. Then if the GOP controls the Senate, anybody whom Biden would nominate to this Supreme Court is not going to be as liberal. I would predict that. I now will move on to the potential bad news, and this is long term because this has really bothered me, and it's a real problem because, again, everybody is, or the Republicans are obsessing over what would happen if the Democrats got control of the White House and the House of Representatives and the Senate. Well, suppose Trump got reelected and suppose that the Republicans controlled the House and the Senate. Fine for now, but what they don't understand is that inevitably, sooner or later, if it doesn't happen or didn't happen this time, sometime in the future, the Democrats will control the two branches, the White House and the legislature, both houses. And when that happens, then they're in a position to pass their programs. And the problem is, what Republicans apparently don't realize, that Democrats very well realize, is that once the Democrats manage to enact one of their expensive boondoggles, once they get those into law, as long as those programs are there, they always have the potential to add to those programs, either to expand that program or to come up with a new program in the future and take us that much farther along to the left towards socialism. The problem is the Republicans, as I said, don't realize, and what they need to realize is that this is inevitably what will happen, because there will always be a time when the Democrats control the legislature and the White House, and possibly the Supreme Court, a liberal Supreme Court that will rule in favor of whatever the other two branches do. So the solution that Republicans don't understand is, however hard it is, whatever flack they're going to take for it, is the necessity to repeal these existing programs. You don't want Medicare for all? I guarantee you are going to get it added to Obamacare as long as Obamacare is on the books. You have to repeal Obamacare. You have to repeal Obamacare, and then the Democrats, when they come into power, they can enact it again, and then the Republicans can repeal it again. The point being that if you are willing to repeal something, then the Democrats, number one, they are stuck because they can't go forward. They always have to reenact something that the Republicans have repealed. So that's number one, that they would always be forced to backtrack and reenact old programs and not be able to move on to new ones. But also regarding new programs, they would then be on notice that anything that they pass in the future is subject to being repealed. So they would have to be a lot more moderate or not even enact those programs at all. And that is the problem. The problem is that the Republicans will not repeal an existing program, and that leaves the Democrats secure in the knowledge that whatever happens, whatever setbacks they may temporarily suffer, they are only temporary, and they will always be able to enact new socialist programs going forward. And that's it. I guess I'll leave it there for today, except to say that I appreciate the time you spent with me today, and I would appreciate a thumbs up if you like this video. Share with anybody you think would also like the video. Got any comments? You can put them in the comment section below the video with questions, suggestions for future topics. You could also visit my original music channel, listen to some of my original music. There's a link in the description. And oh, new song is finished. I just finished the video. I just got a couple little odds and ends, and then a new song will be up. And finally, I would love to see all of you again. So come back. Oh, and subscribe. I love getting new subscribers, if I didn't say that. And then come back and see me again. I look forward to seeing all of you again. And until I do see all of you again, bye.